Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vibe Guide. I had a little hiatus, went on vacation. We're back. I'm happy to be back. It was nice to take a break. I went to North Carolina, Nags Head, and it used to be like this cute little beach town community. Now it's like got a Target and the whole nine. And I'm just like, wow. I don't know. I haven't been in a few years, so it's even more built up than like what I remember. So it makes me kind of sad. But it is what it is. We still had fun. Family and my friends came towards the end of the week with the kiddos. And that's always fun doing the beach with the kids and putt-putt golf and all the stuff. The kids are fun. They're at a fun age. So, yeah, I had a wonderful vacation. Still feel like I'm kind of like catching up with like my energy. I don't really know what's going on with my energy. It just feels real low. Um, But yeah, just happy to be back. By the end of like 7 days at the beach, I'm like, there's sand in every nook and cranny. I'm tired of it being on my feet. Like my hair is like doing funky things. And I'm just like, I'm ready to like get back to my routine. I got out of my routine big time, like drinking more and just like eating whatever. And I still feel like I'm kind of paying for it. So just happy to be back and have more of a routine for myself, which I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. But here we are. You know what I mean? 33 is rough. So it's really not. It's really not. But I'm just, you know what I mean? Like maturing and adulting, and it's fine. And now I have, a routine that I have to stick to, or else I get heartburn like a motherfucker. And that's just where I am in life, and that's okay. Um, so yeah, vacation, I'm back. This week, I'm trying to think of like what else to update you guys with on my life. Nothing too exciting. I've just like been trying to get back in a routine. Oh, I started my human design certification. So I'm excited. I've been studying more in depth. I've always been interested in human design since I got put into like my sphere when I was in France. And it is something that really, really, really helped me understand, first of all, why I'm so damn tired all the time. And it just made sense that I'm a projector. And that's just kind of one of the biggest things about being a projector is like we are a very different energy type and we don't really have our own energy. Like we take in energy from so many other people all the time. So that's why we're so tired all the time. And we have very short spurts of like kind of giving it your all, like 3, 4 hour spurts of kind of like, okay, this is what I got. And then you got to like take a break and come back to it kind of thing. And like now that I know that about myself, I understand why like nursing has been so hard on me physically and like mentally and emotionally. Like it's just that shift work, man, that like grind for 12 hours is like it's brutal. And I mean it's brutal for anyone, but if you know anything about, human design, like there's just different energy types in the world and like a generator is much more like they're here to work. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're here to do on this planet. And that's what their energy is geared towards, like, kind of, like, grinding it out, and that's what they like to do, and so it's just interesting to, like, learn these ins and outs, and it's just human design is a really good holistic tool. It brings in so many different modalities from all over the world and helps you kind of understand yourself on a holistic level. So I have just kind of dove in headfirst and learning more and more about it. So I don't really know what that looks like. Like I could do one-on-one readings if I get to a point where I feel confident in reading charts and doing that kind of stuff, which maybe like we'll see. I'm really just doing this because I enjoy learning about it. And I'm really specifically just like learning about my chart and like what, my ins and outs are. And then we'll see. Like I'm learning the whole gamut, but specifically learning it for myself and seeing if I like it enough, then like maybe I'll do one-on-ones. Or if people are even interested in that, like let me know because I don't really know if people are even know what human design is or would be interested. So anyways, learning human design, So I'll have a certification in that. So to be determined. Um, what else? This week's episode, I wanted to talk about timeline and talk about how we can really just remember to stay on our own timeline, like stay in our own lane and our own journey and our own authenticity because I don't know. I just felt like that was something it just got brought up for me like when I got back from vacation, like no specific reason, oddly enough, but it just kind of popped into my brain and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? That's such a good topic." And it's always so relevant, like no matter what's going on in your life. Like we live in this world where we're constantly influenced by other things, other people's lives, like every which way you turn, it's just like about other people all the time, like other people's lives. You click on your Instagram and it's like, "Oh, this person's here, this person's there. Oh, they just popped a kid out. Like, oh, they got this going on. Oh, they just bought a house. Like they do all these things." Like and it just seems like you can get really easily sucked into, like, other people's lives and be like, "Well, why am I not?" You know what I mean? Like, "Maybe I should do that. Well, maybe I should go there, do that." You know what I mean? So I just felt like it was a good topic, and then it's so funny when I pick these topics because they're obviously relevant to my life and, like, I can speak to them, but every time I do this, I just kinda get that confirmation because all of a sudden it starts popping up everywhere. And so I was listening to Anna Grace Newell, her podcast. She's a Akashic Records reader. She's an influencer. She's a lot of things. She's like literally like sunshine personality unicorn. Like she is so fun. All like super colorful, like rainbow, like that's just her energy. And I listen to her podcast religiously. It's another great podcast if you want to check it out. But she was like speaking about the same exact things that I had already started to like, jot down my ideas for this week's episode. And so I just thought that was so funny. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she gave the best, like such a good example of like how important it is to be authentic and how important it is to be true to yourself and like the things that you do in this world. Like it doesn't have to be career, it could be hobby, it could be whatever, but like the things that you choose to be interested, the things that you choose to do, the things that you choose to like put out into the world, just as long as they're coming from like an authentic place of something that maybe you're truly passionate about or you're interested in or that really brings you joy and like brings you that spark. Um at some point it's going to resonate with someone else. You know what I mean? Like it's going to inspire someone else. Like you showing up in the world as your authentic self, like I promise you every time is going to inspire someone else. Like even if it's just you wearing a certain outfit and you walking into a room and everyone's looking at you like even if they don't like it, like, I feel like people will give props for people who, like, have style and, like, you know what I mean? Like, cool, like, I wish I could dress like that, and the people who are haters are really the ones that really wish they could dress like that or whatever because deep inside, they're like, "Damn, I really wanna do that." You know what I mean? It's always the haters, you guys, like, never pay attention to the haters because hating is jealousy, and, like, we know this. This is, like, second grade stuff, like, they're just jealous. But anyways, she gave this really interesting, um example, and she was watching this documentary with her husband. I don't know what the documentary is called. If you wanna know more about it, she talks about it, like, in depth and shares what the documentary is and all that. Um, but I'm giving, like, a rough synopsis of it. So, there's this musician, it's, like, the '70s and '80s, and his name is, like, Rodriguez, I think is his name. Basically, he was signed to a label and they predicted that he would be like this massive star and like they were super excited about his music and like can't wait for his album to drop and all this stuff and like hyping him up. And then the album drops and he sells like 2 copies. And she said 2. And I'm like, is that an exaggeration? Because if this man's family didn't even buy the album, like that's fucked up. I'm like, 2 copies? What? But yeah, she said he sold like 2 copies. Like I said, I don't know if that was an exaggeration, but the moral of the story is it flopped, right? It flopped in the United States. So at some point down the line, like he has children, he ends up taking like a normal job in construction or whatever. He kind of leaves the music industry behind, leave those dreams behind. I'm sure he felt really crappy about that or whatever. Little does he know, like, this entire time behind the scenes, that he has become this massive celebrity, musician, artist in South Africa. I think she said he sold like more copies than Elvis did in like the United States. Like he was massive. This guy was like a smash hit in South Africa, but had no idea. And I'm like, the world before the internet. Like, could you even imagine? Like, you're like popping off in another country. You have no idea. You're working construction. I'm not going to say hating your life because I don't know. Like, maybe he truly enjoys construction, but I'm going to guess that he would have preferred a career in music, but maybe not. I don't know. But, like, can you imagine? Like, you're famous in a whole nother country and, like, you have no idea. Like, it makes me even more grateful for, like, my little internet community and, like, social media. Like, even though, like, social media can be the absolute pits and just a cesspool, but at least we have that connection and, like, the DMs and stuff that I get, like, help me to keep going, and it's like he had none of that, and the guy was, like, totally famous and had no idea. His daughter, I think, told him maybe in the '90s when the internet came out, it, like, started to circulate. It was like, "Who is this guy? Like, where is he? Like, he needs to go on tour. Like, is he still alive? Like, we need him, like, blah, blah, blah." And then I think he got the message, and I got back to him, and he's, like, in his 60s. I don't really know what happened after that. Like, I don't know if he went to South Africa and was, like, toured and, like, did all this stuff. I don't know. But, like, what an interesting story. And it speaks to timeline, and it also speaks to just, like, you never know in life. Like, you never know. Like, that idea that, like, you're too scared to, like, put out into the world, or that hobby, or that painting, or, the podcast, or God, who knows, the piece of music, like the TikTok. Like, I don't know. Like, any of those things that you really feel like in your heart and in your soul, like you really want to do. And maybe there's like a little ounce of you that's just holding back because you don't want to be made fun of, or you don't want to flop. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to fail. No one wants to sell 2 copies. You know what I mean? Like, that sucks. But the guy did it. And like, he just was courageous and brave and like did what he felt pulled to do. And like, he loved his music and he was super pumped about it. And what he thought was like a complete flop, it's like, no, it like resonated with this whole other side of the world that was dealing with apartheid. And you just never know. Like, maybe the fame part of it, like the universe, God, whatever you believe, like maybe it wasn't his journey, like maybe that wasn't meant for him. But so that's why it was kind of kept from him. But the message from his music, like maybe it needed to get to those ears and get to those people to give them an ounce of hope and to like help them keep going, or whatever it did for, millions of people in South Africa. It's just like so fascinating to me. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't know. You just showing up in the world as your authentic self. You don't know what light is going to shine on other people and in whatever kind of way. And I just feel like that's, God gave us that specific purpose in this world and made us all so unique that it's so important to get back to that, and to get back to your uniqueness and your weirdness, and the things that you find weird, someone else might find super endearing and lovely and inspiring. Like, you have no idea. So it's just all about, like, for me, it just reminded me, just like, specifically for me, it hit with the podcast because I was like, you know what, listen, I'm doing this. Like, my goal was like to have one listener, and I've surpassed that. And like, that's amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think anyone was gonna listen to me. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm like, who am I to like tell people X, Y, and Z or do whatever, la la la. But people tune in week after week after week. And I'm just like, I'm amazed by that. And I'm just like, whoa, like this is really cool. Like, something that I love, people are resonating with. And like, that is so cool to me. And I have no idea like what's going to happen down the road. You know what I mean? Like, I could get a millions of dollar podcast contract. Dear Media, wink wink, shout out to Dear Media. If you're listening, I'm here. But at the same time, that could never happen. But the fact that I've helped just like one person along the way or inspired one person or, just sharing these messages, somebody was inspired to, God, just do something that they maybe have been holding back on or whatever, you know? Like that's more important to me than any of the money or anything like that, But like, would it be dope? Yes, it would. It really would, dear media. But no, I thought that that was such a interesting example. And again, shout out to Anna Grace Newell because that was her, her story. And I wanted to share it because I was like, that is so funny. And it really resonated with me because, like I said, I just find for my own life that that's very appropriate, like that example of like you just don't know like where like I don't know where my voice is going to land in the world. And I just like you never know like I might not have popularity in the United States, but like who knows like around the world and like you just don't know. You have no idea. So it's like just be authentic to yourself and put your magic out into the world because someone in the world needs it. I promise. Like, if the idea came to you, it came to you for a reason. Like, God put it in your brain to be like, hey, yeah, that would be cool. Like, maybe go that route. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I just thought that was a good example and I want to share it and just like remind you guys and my listeners that the more individual and the like more authentic you are to yourself, like the more you're going to show up in the world and like help the world and help the consciousness of the world and help, even on an individual level, just these people around you. Like when you start shining your light and your magic into the world and like really figuring out yourself and like what makes you tick and, all these little bits and pieces, like the world becomes such a better place. And if everyone could do that, and that's also shout out like Age of Aquarius is like doing the individual work so that we can show up in the world and be our amazing, like magical, unique, cool human being self. You know what I mean? If everyone could just like take an ounce of that, I feel like this world would be like chef's kiss. You know what I mean? We've got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of work to do. And I'm trying. You know what I mean? So tell your friends to listen to this podcast, okay? And leave a review and 5 stars and then go watch it on YouTube. Oh my God, the ice maker. Go watch it on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your cousin, tell your brother, you know what I mean? Tell all the people. Okay? Moving on to timeline. So I know I probably mentioned this like loads of times before and like plenty of episodes about just like staying in your lane, but the message never gets old to me and I need it every time it comes through. Because she spoke about that Anna Grace Newell also spoke about it in her podcast about, how we can really get sucked into other people's lives and like what's going on in their lives and lose focus of ourselves. And, it's like Eckhart Tolle or Tolle says is like the present moment is like the most powerful thing we have as like a human being. And it's very important to remember that. And so it's like if you feel yourself getting pulled into, because I know for me, like these are the examples that I wanted to share was like I was thinking about buying a house because it's like financially that's doable for me. For those that don't know, I live at home with my mom and it's like I've made that was a choice for me and like I'm very lucky that I have that. Like when I came home from Europe, I had like a place to land and to like get back on my feet and take another job and save up some money and buy a car and like do the things that I needed to do coming back after being gone for a year or so. So, I'm really lucky in that sense. And I just feel like for some reason, thinking about being 33 and living at home with your mom, it's like, I don't care about that. Like, I have a wonderful, like, situation here. And it's like very, I don't know, it's just nice, like, to be here with my mom and like, it's just me and my mom. And so I'm actually like really fortunate for that. Like, people don't really get to experience that or even have like a relationship maybe with their parent that it's not like, I feel like a lot of people, once you get to an adult age, it's like, it's kind of hard to be around a parent because maybe it like pulls you back into like your childhood self or whatever. But it's like, we've kind of moved through a lot of that stuff, so it's just like a really genuine, nice, like, roommate situation, and, like, we're super respectful and, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll cook, she cleans, or vice versa. Laundry, she needs me to do it, I'll do it, she does it. Vacuuming, I do it. Like, we have our things that, like, we do, and it just is very copacetic, like, it just works, you know? And so recently, I just feel like I've been, like, a little bit more insecure about that, but I think it's from, like, outside voices, and I'm just like, "Why am I letting that affect me?" Like, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks, like, when have I ever? You know what I mean? Like, this situation is amazing for me, like, why would I rush out of it? Like, when I don't have like, why would I do that? Like, I don't know if I wanna buy a home in this community. I don't know if I wanna be around here. Could I buy an investment property? Sure, but, like, would it really be much of an investment? I don't know. Like, there's, like, all these questions, and I just feel like I was starting to get into my head and out of, like, my body is what was happening, and you guys know I go over and over and over about that because that's when you get into trouble. Like, when I start to let my mind go of like, "Oh, it could be a good investment," and like, "Well, but I don't know if I wanna stay here, and I don't wanna know if I wanna do this, and, like, I don't know, like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't." Once I start going down that spiral, I know that it's like, just shut it down. Like, it's a no. You know what I mean? Like, you're not buying a house. It's a no. Like, if you're going around and around and around, like, that hard about it, like, it's a no. And what happened was like, I let other people's ideas of, like, what my life should look like at 33 years old influence me. And I was just like, "Ew, Caroline, you're like, ew, bitch, no." So I've, like, pulled back on that, and, like, if buying a home is, like, something that I feel like I wanna do, and, like, say there is a deal that pops up, and, like, say there is something that I'm, like, 100% of my body and my soul, I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna do that." Like, it's a good deal, like, whatever. And I also feel like when it's time, like, the universe will make that process really seamless and really easy, and I just have not had that happen yet. So, it was just a good reminder for me to just stay in my lane and put the blinders on and, like, do not think about what other people have going on in their lives. Don't think about how other people have investment properties and other people have this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, we're not the same. We have very different journeys, very different, you know, we're unique individuals. We're all here to be so unique to our own journey, to our own story, to, what feels right to us. So just because you've hit an age, you've hit a number, it's just like, for me, that's just so irrelevant to life at this point. Like, I could care less. And I think it's more so for women because the children thing, right? And I was asked also, this past week, like, do you want to have children? You know what I mean? And I don't know, and I don't take that question personal. I think some people do. Like, I don't. Like, I get that I'm 33 and, like, I live in a rural community where, like, by 33 a lot of people have children and they're married and they're settled down and, like, life is kind of, like, evened out for them and, like, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that, like, at all. But for me, that's not what my life looks like. And so when I get that question, it's kind of interesting for me because I know that it just comes from a place of I feel like it's like genuine curiosity of like, well, why is Caroline not married? Or like, why is she not having kids? Or like, I don't feel like it's like a negative thing. I just feel like people get curious because in this area, you don't see that as much. Like, if a couple is married, but they don't have children, people are like, well, what's up with that? Like, why don't they, like, they don't want to have kids? That's weird. Like, you guys know what I'm saying. And like, if you know stereotypes of like, being living in the South, a lot of them are true. And a lot of them are great and some of them aren't so great. And I just feel like sometimes that's the not so great part is like their lives tend to kind of nobody likes to like stick out a little bit. Like I don't know. And I don't want to like get into like a diatribe about it, but you guys can get the picture. It's just a little bit more difficult to have a quote unquote different life living in like a smaller town kind of thing. And I think that we've heard that through many different avenues of life, like many different examples of that. So I guess the moral of the story is like, I don't take it personal, but I also find it interesting. And I think when those questions get asked, it does bring up that idea of timeline for me. And it does make it real for me that like I am 33. And if I do want to have children, like as a woman, like there is a biological clock. And that is very real if you wanna have biological children. You know what I mean? Like, that is something that you do have to consider. But I think for me, it's like, I just don't let it panic me. Like, if I have those ideas or I have those thoughts, like someone asked me that question and then I think about it and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do want kids, but, like, if it doesn't happen for me, like, that's not gonna like, I'm not gonna crawl in a hole and die. Like, I'm good." You know what I mean? Like, it would be an honor to be a mother of a child, like, one of the biggest honors of your life, one of the most special things of being a human being, but I just don't feel like that's, like, my soul's purpose on this planet. Like, I feel like I have other things to do maybe before that comes into play, if it does. And if it does come in the form of, like, a biological child for myself, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways to have children, and you could have stepchildren, you can adopt children, you can do IVF, you can have a surrogate, like, you can do a million things, right? But the idea that if you wanna have your child and it's biological, like, you do gotta pay attention to your eggs at a certain age. But trust and believe, me and my gynecologist, we've had conversations about it, you know what I mean? So I don't need, like, the peanut gallery to question either, because they said at 36, you might wanna start thinking about your options, like, what's going on. Just FYI, that's what they told me. So it's one of those things, but it just kind of puts the timeline piece into perspective and I just had to remind myself and like along with the same thing, like buying the house and like the kid thing and like all that kind of happened in the same around the same like few days. And so I think it kind of put me in a little bit of a panic of like, oh my God, I'm falling behind. Like all my friends are married, they all have children, like oh my God, there's something wrong with me. Like you really do start to get in your head. It's like very easy to do. And then what I want to say is like when you feel that way, because I know I'm not the only person, when you start to feel like a little panicked about your timeline of like, maybe there's something that you want in your life and it just hasn't popped in yet, or and also remember the earlier example of, like, just because it hasn't happened right now, it doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. Like, that man was a superstar in a whole 'nother country, like, 10 years later after he released his album, okay? Like, you have no idea. If it is meant for you, it will come to you. Trust and believe, okay? Um, what was I gonna say? Now I forgot what I was gonna say. You guys, this is what happens when you work a 12-hour shift and then you do a podcast. I already had to re-record because I literally blanked so hard on what I was talking about. I was like, "Man, I just gotta start over." But what was I saying? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I really can't remember. This is not the second time this has happened. Um, I was talking about, like, kids and oh, okay. So what happens when I start to feel, like, panicky and I start to notice myself, like, my mind going a lot more about, like, scenarios of life and, like, what I was, like, speaking about earlier, like, looking at homes, like, researching things and, like, I starting to, like, force things maybe that shouldn't be forced. You know what I mean? Also, like, moving, like, people are asking me, like, "What's your plan?" Like, oh, that was another question I got. "What's your 5-year plan?" "What's my 5-year plan?" Like, I what? I don't bother with that stuff. Like, I know some people are really into that, but, like, it's just not my thing. Do I have a general idea for the 5 years, like, what I would like for myself? Of course. But, like, a 5-year plan? Like, no, I'm not gonna why am I gonna waste my energy on that? You know how many twists and turns my life has made in 5 years? I don't bother with that. Like, to me, that just seems like you're kinda setting yourself up in a way. But like I said, I have a general idea, you know what I mean? A 5-year plan. But when you kinda get out of sorts and you feel like maybe you're going down the Instagram rabbit hole and you're starting to feel bad about yourself and where you are in life and, like, what your life looks like or maybe what your financial state looks like or, like, whatever it looks like for you, absolutely, like, the number one thing I would say is to, like, get outside in nature and, like, ground yourself. Like, go sit outside in the grass for, like, 5 minutes, look around at nature, pay attention to the birds, pay attention to what's on the grass, like start to pick out all the teeny tiny things that are happening right in front of you because that's what brings you back to that like present moment. It's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Like I see this little ant crawling on this blade of grass. Like I'm spinning like, we're on the earth, we're spinning around the sun, like, you know what I mean? It puts everything kind of back into perspective of like, why am I tripping on something that's not happened? I don't know if it's gonna happen. I have no idea. I have no control over it. So why am I gonna ruminate about it? Like, for what? You know what I mean? It's like, just come right back to that present moment and just ground yourself and be grateful and thankful. Like you have your health, you're here, you're alive, whatever you're grateful for. Just like do that for like 5 minutes. And I promise you, you're going to feel a zillion times more calm about whatever's going on in your life and like about whatever timeline you think you need to be on is going to go right out the window. You know what I mean? Because you're just going to come back to that present moment of like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. Like, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm chilling, I got money in the bank. Like, what the hell else? I got fucking food in my refrigerator, I got air conditioning in this hot ass weather. Like, what in the world am I searching for? Why am I trying to live up to somebody else's expectations? Or why am I looking on Instagram wishing I had that pair of jeans? Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? It's just such useless energy. And we all need to check in and we all need to like remember that. You know what I mean? And I like hope this episode kind of sparks that for you because we all do it. And I know that, like I said, I was like catching myself going down that rabbit hole of like, maybe I should do things that I'm forcing because it would look good externally or sure financially or you know what I mean? But like, do I really want to do it? Do I really feel it? Do I really feel like buying a home and like dealing with all that right now? No, I don't. No, I actually don't. I actually don't. I'd rather travel and, like, see what comes down the pike and, like, figure out where I wanna live in life first, you know what I'm saying? And then we'll see what happens. It's like I had to kinda, like, sort that through for myself because your brain gets a little, like your brain will do you dirty really quick, like, you gotta shut it down. So get outside, ground, go walking, I've been off of my meditation game, which I don't like either, but you can meditate. But I think for me, just, like, literally sitting outside, I watch my hummingbirds, and I just, I don't know, take a few deep breaths, and I'm just like, "Girl, you're fine." Like, please. Like, you know how quickly your life changed 2 years ago, like, you met one person in your life, like, did a freaking U-turn, and you moved to a whole 'nother country, and, like, you have no idea what's in store for you, you know what I mean? Like, you just don't know what's gonna come down the pike, so if you're feeling like you need to rush something, and if you're feeling anxious about it, just try to ground yourself, and take a beat, and breathe on it, and try and feel it in your body of, like, what's going on, you know what I mean? Like, is the idea of a house, like, make you, like, super fucking excited? Or does it feel like, "Ooh, I don't think I wanna spend my money just yet," like, I don't think I wanna do that just yet," like, that's the kinda energy I had to sort through for myself, because it was more of the latter. It's like, I can do it. Sure, I could do it if I wanted to, but it's like, "Oh, like, do I is that really what I wanna do right now?" And it's not. And I almost let, like, the external world tell me that I should, at 33 years old, have a home because, "Oh my god, you gotta have an investment. You're not gonna be able to afford a retirement home when you're 65." Like, I you know what I mean? Like, it gets crazy up in your mind. It gets crazy up in there. So, I the moral of the story, the moral of this episode is just stay in your lane. You know what I mean? Put the blinders on, take a break from the social media if you feel like how I was describing, like if you feel that way, just like shut it down and just get back to yourself and what feels good to you. And it just does not matter what other people think or what their ideas are of what your life should look like. It just does not matter. And just like completely ignore it and completely shut that shit out because It's not helpful. You know what I mean? And then take the time to really, get back to yourself. And like I said, the first way to do that is really get out in nature and to ground yourself and, just take a beat, take a few deep breaths and bring yourself back to the present moment. And then move forward if you want to on like decisions or whatever, whatever that looks like for you. So I think that's all I want to say. I feel like, is this a shorter episode? I don't know. I can't see the time when I do these. So let me look at my notes. Let me read them over. Yeah, I feel like I said pay attention to your intuition about these things. And that goes back to your body. Like if you're starting to feel like a little revved up about things and like I noticed that like I was starting to think about things in my mind like before bed and like stuff like that and I'm like, "Ooh, see, I know it's not a good idea then. Like if I'm doing all that, like I know it's just not for me because it's just too much. Like that's anxious energy. That's not good energy. That's not like, "Ooh, I can't wait to wake up and research and look at houses." Like, no, that's like you're kind of panicking about it. You know what I mean? So just for me that's one of my red flags. So, okay, now I'm like really ending the episode, you guys. I'm happy to be back. Woohoo! I hope you guys have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. If you would feel so inclined to leave me a lovely review, 5-star rating, I would be super appreciative. This is also will be uploaded to YouTube. All the raw footage just gets put on YouTube. That would be amazing if you subscribe to the channel over on YouTube. That would be super cool and give the videos a like over there. And if anyone knows any like social media, like content people who do that for a living or like people who edit like reels, like social media stuff, like like please put me in contact with those kinds of people because the one thing about doing this podcast, like I absolutely love it, but the editing down of like these long form videos, I don't mind it, but like I'd rather not do it, if that makes sense. And I would like to have, like, more content, like, I would like to have it come out more and more, like, chop these up into, like, more pieces, but I just don't have the time, like, I usually just do, like, 1 video and then, like, that's what I got for the week kinda thing. Because I don't have the energy to keep, like, going back and doing it, and I just it takes a lot of time, you guys. So, if anyone knows anyone that's, like, in that world because I know nothing about that world. So, if you know someone, please put them in my path, have them DM me, message me, email me, whatever you wanna do. I would really appreciate that. Okay, you guys, lots of love. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend. Be safe. Um, and yeah, we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.